Hi, this is Charlie. We're working on a new signature for the album. Ciao Paris, I love you. I keep practicing the French part of it and fail. I'm more confident in saying the English version, so my apologies to any of my French followers. I will continue to practice at it. So here we have is the makings of what I plan to do. So let's get down to the base page, and I just realized something, so give me 2 shakes here. I want to get a string of this cut real quick to put here. I forgot to do that. This is what I found when I searched bling on a roll, and boy was it a roll of bling. And it's held together with a mesh, so it works just perfect actually, because glue adheres to the mesh and so does tape. So it makes it easier to put together. So I'm using this beautiful gray piece, which I think I have upside down. I'm looking at the words here, but it's a snowflake because there is a winter theme that runs through this paper collection, and it's just so pretty. I was a bit overwhelmed with all the red, but as I'm working with it, I'm getting more comfortable with it. So our base page is 8 3/4 high by 8 3/8 in its width. Now I'm going to make a pocket page here, and again I've used my double layer die to help identify the opening to the pocket. The pocket measures 2.5 inches across. It does not include this die. So it's 2.5 inches from edge to edge, and then your 8 3/4 in your height. So I went to my scraps, and I fell in love with this piece right from the beginning when I opened up the collection. And even though it's in a reverse, it's still a beautiful pattern that I can use. I took the other bookmark, double mounted it on white and black cardstock. Trim that a little bit. And I'm going to center it right here in the middle. And then I'm going to run this bling right up this edge. So let us get started. I do need to find my 1/4 inch roll of tape. I'm not sure. Oh, there it is. So I can tape the back of this. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of fussy cutting on this again. I love to fussy cut. I love to pull images up off their paper so that they stand out. And I want a lot of things. I would hope that you enjoy that process and you can see what you can do maybe with a different set of papers that you're staring at it and you're going, okay, what can I do with this? That maybe you can fussy cut and lift some images off so that it just adds a different appeal to the paper. And again, I've inked all of my edges. And I will say that at this stage of putting the album together, and I've been very conservative with the amount of paper I'm using, but I am almost through my 3rd package of this paper. I will be starting on the 4th here pretty soon. So we'll see how many, but I only have, I think, 2 signatures to go. So, and I have still a little bit of the 3rd, so we should be able to make some fairly decent pages. Okay, so we're just gonna kind of, ooh, I'm getting glue everywhere, gosh darn it. It slipped out of my hands, and I want to center this a little bit better than I am. Every time I pick this up, that glue loses its tackiness. All right, let's take some. So far, I've been pretty successful in adding tape to hold down this bling. I haven't noticed any troubles with it lifting or coming off. But if I do see that, I have my backup, which is my glue. Okay, let's see here. Start down here at the bottom. I'll just bring this right straight up. When I thought about adding bling to this, I looked at different colors, you know, black, red, white, and the silver just added a different look to it, so that's why I chose the silver bling. Okay, so if I grab a card over here, double card, we have a nice pocket. This is too long, so it's not going in there very well, but we've got a nice pocket. All right, so the first thing we're going to add is going to be our side flaps. There's 2 of them. I'm using this, what are these? Are these measuring 6 by 6, 5 3/4 by 5 3/4 once they're cut. So I'm using this one, and I am using Paris. So my intent is to have Paris on top, and when you put this on here, like so, it's gonna be here, and you're gonna have Paris over here, you'll see Paris, make my wish come true. So that's my layering process here. So I want to get this on. I'm going to do my best to eyeball the center. And on we go. So this one, I'm going to glue down. Now I'm not using any magnets on it yet. We will be putting some magnets, but it'll be on the outer flaps. And I ran out of Winkostella. I think it would be gorgeous to use some Winkostella here to kind of liven up this piece, but I'm out. So it's just kind of a suggestion to you. So now I've used, out of the 12 by 12, there's this beautiful red one that's got the little white dots, little snowflakes. That's the one I'm using for these internal pages. The reverse side has the town buildings on it, and I thought about using them, but they're a bit busy for the inside here. I wanted this to be more for your photos. And then I took one of the tags and I cut it out, and I'm going to put it down here in the corner so that it can be utilized as a tuck, or you don't have to put it on there at all if you don't want a tag and a tuck. So you want to just leave this open for your photos. Put that underneath there. I'm just going to lift this a little bit so there's a little hint of red behind it. Now you can still put a small photo here, put your tuck. This is also a good opportunity maybe to do some journaling, especially if you've been to Paris. Tell your story. What did you see, the sights, all that good stuff. All right, so now we're going to put on the neck. Oh, you know what? I am so sorry. I get going and I just kind of blitz out. This measured in at 6 3/8, going in the width with a 1/2 inch score. This ended up at 5 7/8 in the height, and they're both matching. So my apologies to you. So I'm going to line these up together by doing it this way. Pinch real tight, fold it over, don't move, put it down. Okay, so now let's go ahead and put the internal on. And this is a perfect illustration of why I didn't use red or very little red cardstock. Some of this has a beautiful red with kind of a pink background, and then you get this piece which is more orange on the red side. So it was really a difficult thing to try to match. See, this is more red, so I just chose to do it in the black and then highlight with the white so that it hopefully has a little bit more elegant look. So now on this one, this is one of the tags, kindness is like snow. It beautifies everything it covers. So I just put a little bit of tape here on the edge, and I'm going to stick it right here. And you've got a tuck. Or don't put it on there at all. So see how this make my wish comes true. So with the word Paris out here, Paris, make my wish come true. So that was kind of my thought process in putting that together. I like my paper to kind of tell a story and not just be put together because I thought something looked cute. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's just not my style. Okay. All right, so that's what we have on the internal. Oops, and then we've got these. Now, we have a top flap, and we're going to have a bottom flap. And let's just get to the outside when we get this done. I am using on the inside this beautiful rose paper, so you're going to want to pull this one out, and I'm going to have you pull out this black one. Looks like it's a damask type style, so you'll pull that one out, but we're going to use the reverse side. So your top flap is going to measure at 6 inches by the width, which is your 8 3/8. And you're going to have a 1/2 inch score, and then you're going to have a 5/8 of an inch score. And then we're just going to put this right on the top. And I want to come right up to the 1/2 inch score line. And I'm going to have a little bit of a push back on this one end because of the bling. So I kind of want to start there when I'm laying my tape down, or laying my tape down, that's what I'm doing. Okay, so push back on this, reinforce that so it stands up nice and straight. And then let's work on the bottom piece so that it makes sense when everything starts to come together. So this bottom piece is going to measure at 7 1/2 by the 8 3/8, and again it's going to have a 1/2 inch score and a 5/8 of an inch score, and it's going to go on the bottom. And this is where we're going to put our magnets, and I'm going to start with my right there because that's where those that bling is. And then I want to push back. Okay. The magnet's going to go on the upper flap because it's shorter, and the placement here isn't going to matter as much. So we're going to get some magnets. I can get this thing open. Okay, I'm going to set you right over there, out of the way. If the magnets I use, if they're in any kind of a distance, like about 5 inches, they will come together in a heartbeat. All right, now and then I'm going to take a little bit of tape and I'm going to put it back here on the back of this. Roll this up on the back of the magnet. And then make sure my sides are even. And that my gussets are standing up right. And then put that down. And then I'm going to commit some tape so that when these things come together, they're not separating off the paper. They have a nice connection. All right, so let's work on the top. So this is that beautiful rose paper, and I've cut to fit this, and I'm leaving when I cut them all square before I did my corners, and I left myself with about 1/16 of an inch to try and be somewhat close to being square on this. Kind of embarrassed right now. I've got ink all over my hands, but I use these things, and so obviously when I'm holding it at one end, I'm getting ink all over my place, all over my hands. I've got a lot of tape overhang. I did not lay that on there very well. Okay. So I'm going to do my best to line up. It never fails. I try so hard to do my measurements right, but it never fails that I'm always off just fractions of an inch. So I'm learning to accept it. In the big scheme of things, it's not important. Okay, so now we're going to do a bottom piece. And then here we're going to get a little creative. So out of the paper that's remaining, you're going to cut this bottom piece. And I am not quite sure what I did on my cut. It could just be the way the trim ended up. I ended up being really short. So I decided, and it worked out quite well, that I was going to put a pocket on this bottom flap. So when this is open, you're going to have a pocket down here. Now what I did, if I pull this all the way up where it's supposed to be, I should not have to cut the corners, but I think I'm going to just at a diagonal, just for the sake that I don't want them interfering with my trimmed corners. So I'm going to bring this right up here. So now they're out of the way. And then I have this on mine. Now if you cut it and it turned out fine, great. It just means that sometimes I get to turning and twisting papers and I forget which way is up. But making a pocket out of the bottom of this turned out to be rather nice. So here's what I did. The piece that was in my scrap had this phrase on it: let's fall in love in this place. And on it too, I cut off, when we trimmed it on an earlier trim, ended up cutting that bird off. Well, on this sheet of roses, there were a couple of bird images, so I went and cut one out and backed it on black cardstock. I put a little black gem for its eye, and it fit just perfect over the image that got cut. And it just added another nice little appeal to this pocket. So that's what we're going to do. So go ahead and get this on. And I'm going to be more focused on my sides and the top than I am on the bottom, because I already know my cut is off. But pockets are such a great way to hide when you're short. We get all flustered and we go, oh my gosh, I want to use that paper, but I don't have enough. Well, make it into a pocket. Let's get that off of the paper. I apologize if I'm a little awkward or cockeyed here on the camera. Well, it is my camera. It's on my phone. All right, so let's pull this off. And what I'm going to focus on here, because I had to round the corners to the pocket because these corners here were rounded, I'm going to focus to make sure that I'm lining up here on the corners. because I don't care where this ends up. All right. So let's get this piece. And again, I'll put this up here for you. So this was in the scraps. And I think I told you to set it aside because I was going to want to use this. Okay, so now I'm going to focus on these corners, and everything else should fall into place. Now I did pop these up on some pop-ups, some strips. So this is just going to sit right back in where I had cut them out of. And then we're going to put, oh, my bling. I got to put my bling on first. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. Up there for a little bit. And then I think I only need 2. Yep. Now we'll put the bird on. So I'm going to kind of pinch so that I know what I want to glue. And I'm just setting his feet and his tail right over the one that's on that limb. Ta-da! Okay. Now let's work on the outside. All right, so the outside piece is this sheet. It has the beautiful ornate clock on the top with the bird, and then we have the Bristol building and the trees. And this went farther this way, but I wanted the trees and opted to cut off what was on this right-hand side. And I honestly don't remember what it was. But these are the images I want you to have. And then I inked the edges. This one's going to sit here like this. And then I took one of the other cutouts, the little cards, and it says, "Love you." And I put some of those loose, these pieces I'm cutting off. So I put a couple of them here on the ends, and I'm just going to glue that into place. Then down here, this is going to sit in here, and then this piece is going to come in on the top. Now, in your scraps, I love this image. I love the lady with the umbrella all the way throughout. So I went to my scraps and I started scrounging, and I found that on this piece here, she was right here. So I carefully cut her out, backed her on white and black cardstock, and then I put some foam pop-ups on her. And I'm going to lift her up off the page. This way it looks like, again, she's walking in front of the Bristol. So then when you close this, the magnet, it sits up high enough that it doesn't interfere with this, but you end up with a beautiful image, at least in my opinion. I just like to use images. I think that they can help tell the story. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this top piece. I'm going to go ahead and get it glued on. I'm beginning to think now, I don't remember, did I? Oh boy, I'm sure glad I like where it placed my envelopes. I mean my envelopes, what am I thinking of? My brain is going wacko. My magnets, I don't remember if I taped that or glued it. I think I glued it. But at least I'm pretty confident the magnets are sitting where they need to be. Okay, paying attention more to my lower corners. And then I love this, and I've got to use it on one of the next signatures. I just think that is so pretty. It can be accented so well using some of the cards and other images. Line it up down here on the bottom so that it's as close to being correct as it can be. And then we'll glue this little guy in place. I've got to tell you, when I sit down and I'm looking at paper and how I'm going to play with it, it takes me all day to come up with something. But then I sit here and I can put it together in less than an hour. So it kind of, there's my magnet. This is getting taped. At least I'll get one right. But I honestly don't remember. Whoops. I'm really not a wackadoodle, people. My brain just goes 90 miles an hour, and so I get ahead of myself. Yeah, that didn't lay right. So okay, so I'm going to pay attention to the upper corners. Get them as close as I can. Roll that tape back there. Okay. All right. Then we're going to set this in here. And like I said, I cut so that I could have the trees and the building, and there was something over here that I cut off. But I have lots of strips of scrap sitting over here. I'm not sure if I can locate it quickly and conveniently to reassure you what piece I took off. I get so ahead of myself, sometimes I got to share with you, to the extent to which I go to try to make sure everything is right. I got to just punch in corners, and I punched the wrong corner off down here. I punched it off down here, so I went and dumped and emptied this thing, and of the gazillion pieces that are in there, I found the piece that belonged there and taped it in place. All right, so now this little, you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I do believe it adds a nice little element that it looks like she's actually standing out in front of the Bristow. And then we close this. This is what we have. Open this up. We got our pocket, we got our tucks, we got a beautiful spot up here for photos. All right, let's get our tape on the back and let's get it in the album. So I've got a gusset here that wants to collapse, so I'll have to watch that when I put it in the album. Some center support. Let's get it burnished really good. And let's get our album out, and we're going to set it in here just like so. Okay? But I'm going to turn this so I can see my three sides. Make sure, I wasn't ready to do that. I want to make sure my gussets are standing up. Okay. Now, like I stated once before, if you've got a gusset that wants to collapse on you when you're setting down the tape where that gusset is, just make sure that it's standing up straight. Whoops. Okay, I'm going to come and get this one first because it's going to be a little bit more difficult, and I'm going to have to smudge a corner here to get it out. Okay. Now I'll take this one off the bottom. This way I can ensure the gusset lays down straight. Perfect. I burnish with a firm press, and when I do this, I can actually hear the air bubbles popping on the tape underneath. so I know I'm getting a good contact here. Okay, that one is done, and I think it finished up rather smartly. All right, we've only got 2 to go, so I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.